welcome to the March vlog. So this month, I told you in the last reading vlog, which is going to come up today, I need to do the final edit of like blurring out some stuff and then it's up. But I said that I definitely wanted to focus more this month on getting some clips from the outside world, showing you things that I do outside of like reading and booktube. Because do you know what, in January and February I did a lot of dancing. So I started doing salsa dancing about 6-7 months ago perhaps, and I started doing bachata dance lessons in January. So I've been going to a lot of dance classes. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I'm just like, oh my god. And sometimes like there are socials, so I go out on like a Sunday and do like social dancing and dancing with other people, and I'm realizing that I'm very bad at salsa, but you know, it's all part of the learning process. And then the same with bachata. I actually do classes on Tuesdays and Fridays, and on Fridays they have a social straight after, and you know, it's good for social dancing and things like that, but you just end up like doing these nights out and then it's like 2 a.m. and you're like, I did not plan to do this at all. So I don't know how much of the like dance classes and stuff that I will film, just because like it just doesn't naturally occur to me to like film any of that stuff. But definitely this month I want to prioritize like doing more poetry stuff. You're a bit lopsided, but that's because I have you on the cat tree and her top platform is a bit lopsided. But more poetry stuff. So in maybe the last vlog, I mentioned that I wanted to do, basically I want to make more time for some of my other hobbies, because I really do feel like salsa and bachata have taken up a lot of my time. So for March the priority was do more poetry stuff, and really happy to say that I've really got like 3 things in that are very much related to that. So I'll be able to hopefully film some clips and just like obviously for me personally go to those things. So tomorrow I'm going to this writing workshop. It's completely free in one of the libraries. It is a food writer, and I believe he's actually a poet, so he writes poetry like on food. So in the clip that you just saw, I went to this healing session. I'm going to talk about that again because I just don't want to keep going off topic. I went to this healing session, but I mentioned that I was going to that, and one of the guys that was there is also going to that, and the woman who was leading it knows the man who's leading this workshop. Well, yeah, because I just said that, and was saying that he writes a lot of his poems on like the name of restaurants in Glasgow, and then writes about like the food and his experience there. So it sounds really good. So I definitely need to pick up the poetry collection, but that's completely free. I don't actually write about food. I just love eating food, and I love reading like books that talk about like cooking and things like that. So going to that, and after that, Verve Poetry Press, which is a poetry publication in Birmingham, they have 3 poets. I don't know if they're Scottish poets, but they have released a new poetry collection, and they're touring Scotland. I think they're just doing Edinburgh and Glasgow, in fairness. They were in Lighthouse Books in Edinburgh, I believe today, or maybe last week, and then tomorrow they're coming to the CCA, so I'm going to that. And the next Wednesday my flatmate and I are going to another sort of poetry thing. I can't remember too much off my head what it's about. We're going to that. I want to say it's at the CCA again, not that any of this means anything to you if you don't live in Glasgow. I've never even been to that place. And then on Sunday there is the Scottish Poetry Slam, which I'm so excited for. Last year it was held in the Panopticon, I believe, but this year it's being held much closer to me, which is good. I mean, the Panopticon is not far, but again, none of this means anything to you guys. So yeah, it's quite poetry heavy and I'm here for it. So that's the plan for that. In terms of books, sorry, before we go back to books, I was talking about that Tree of Life thing, which I showed a clip of. So basically these are like, it's called like POC, so People of Colour Healing Sessions, and it is run by this woman who, I think she trains in this thing called the Tree of Life, which is a South African creation to help kids who have HIV talk about and process that trauma. So it can be used as a sort of like healing modality. So when I say healing, it's not like too out there. And she has been run from February to May, and it's once a month. It's completely free. You can donate, and I need to remember to do that, to do the donation at the end. But the first one we like drew a tree, which I will insert like my tree here. And essentially it's like your roots, your foundation, your trunk, your branches, your leaves, your fruits, and then there's something else on the other side. And essentially a lot of those things equate to like your foundation, so like your ancestry, who you are, all those sorts of things, you know. The things that are rooted in like these are things that definitely define you. And then you have things like things you've been told you're good at, things that you think you're good at, all those sorts of things. Then you have your aspirations, which are like the branches. You have the people in your lives, which are your leaves. You have the fruits, which are like gifts people have given you. So there's all that sort of stuff. So that's what we did on the first one. It was a nice creative process. You like just drew and just things like that, and you thought about what you wanted to add to the tree, like what represents you as a person. And then yesterday it was about like talking through that tree. So I'm inhaling so much. So we had some new people come, so half the group spent the time like drawing their trees and stuff like that, and then the 4 of us who were like already done and you know, willing to like talk about our trees just went through and spoke about like our tree. So you spoke about yourself, which is just a really nice way of like getting to know people, because people talk about the things that like are important to them, define them, but stuff that you perhaps wouldn't get to know about them on like meeting them from the first time or the second time and stuff like that. And again, it's nice because it's what people choose to reveal about themselves. So it was really lovely. So again, I will stick up the second picture of like, well, you saw the video, but I'll stick up the second picture of the tree, because then what happens after that is, after you know, people talk to you and listen to you and things like that, and also there's like question prompts and things like that. So if you're like, I don't really know what to ask this person, you can be like, well, one of the prompts about the tree is like what does this person on your leaf what do they want for your future, what do they want for your life, and things like that. So and then afterwards you get to like stick things on people's tree. So I got like a couple of flowers and things like that, and you put stuff on different people's ones. So I did like little heart shapes with comments on the other people's trees that I listened to, read, watched. So that was a really nice way to spend a Sunday. Not gonna lie, I was very, very, very tired yesterday. I was like hungover and tired. And I went to meet a friend for coffee, then I went to that healing session, then I'm getting my hair braided on Friday, so I went to like drop off the hair, and then I went to the supermarket, and I was just, oh my god, I was just like, oh my god, why am I doing this? I should be in bed. But it was a really nice Sunday. So I'm still reading this, I am still reading this. Both thoroughly enjoying, just haven't had much time for reading lately. But I have some proofs I want to show you. So I went to the office last week and I picked this up. This is called The Tenant, The Silent Tenant, The Quiet Tenant by Clement Michelon, I believe that's French. And yeah, this is a proof copy, so it comes with a sort of like marketing material bit. And you know what, I do like a thriller every now and then. I actually slag thrillers all the time on here, but I do like to try them in the hope that I will find one that I really love. So yeah, and I like freebies, so I saw it there and I was like, this is one that I might read, I'm gonna pick it up. And then I requested a proof copy of this because it was going around that, you know, proof copies were available. So this is from Penguin and it's called Sensitive, and it is by Jen and Andre Solo. But it reminds me of that other book. I think it's called Quiet. You'll know what I mean if you know about like books in this area, but I'll stick the cover up here anyway. But yeah, it just says here, do you have a heightened sense of empathy? Notice tiny details others don't? Ever feel overwhelmed in a busy environment? If yes, you are likely sensitive. I just ordered it because I just wanted to see, I didn't realise there was a stain on it. Well, to see what it says. Like, I just remember when I was like in my first job, one of the ladies called me sensitive. She was like, oh, well, you're just a bit sensitive. And I was just like, yeah, I am. And then like years later, it really just took me to realise like, yeah, I am sensitive, but actually you were just being a dick in that situation. Like, ugh. But yeah, I do actually think I'm quite a sensitive person. So I thought I'd get this. There is also another copy that's coming through. It's actually going to be a finished copy of Jessie Sutanto's newest book. So she is the author of the Auntie series, a book series that I have reviewed on my channel, and I've stick in the cards, wherever that may be. This isn't part of that series, but I think it is still a murder mystery. Yeah, I saw it and I was like, yes, I definitely want a proof copy, but by then the proof copies were finished, but she said she will send me a finished copy, so I don't know when that will come through, but I'm really excited to read that one. Checking in to talk about books. So I finished this last night, which is it's this version of Rumi, this translated version. I really don't know how to categorize it, but whoever brought me here will have to take me home. So this collection is split into 8 sections. It says here the 8 divisions are faint and playful, I don't know what that word is, spread of Rumi's imaginations. And so yeah, essentially they've been put into categories, I guess, or sections, I guess, that reflects the poems that are quite similar. So the final section is Being a Lover, the Sunrise Ruby. And that, I think, is where a lot of like the quotes or poems that get shared by Rumi, I feel like, appear in that section. I mean, to be fair, the ones that I read in here, they weren't ones that I thought, oh, I've seen that before, which was quite nice. It was nice to see something new. But definitely when I think of like what I thought of Rumi, when I think of Rumi, it was everything that was captured in that last section. That definitely by far was my favourite. Whereas the rest, I just felt they were a bit random. Obviously they are not random, and I think I was gonna say in context, like this was written however many years ago, so, but I think if you are someone that likes perhaps a variety of poems that aren't just based on love, like this collection would be really nice. Personally, for me, the other 7 sections, I was a bit like, okay. There were some bits in there that I took photos of. I usually underline bits I really like in my poetry collections, but obviously this isn't mine, so I didn't do that. But definitely the final section was where I was kind of like, yes, this is the Rumi I was expecting. So overall for me, this will be a 2.5. I think it is actually, I've given it 2 stars on Goodreads, but on Storygraph, I have given it 2.5. Have to say, I'm absolutely loving using Storygraph, because I'm loving the half ratings that you can give. I think I even gave one book a 2.75, and I was like, oh, okay. So because I finished that last night, I started this. This is the 3rd poetry collection that I bought when I ordered some from Amazon, and just looking at the back, I realised I probably could have just got this for work a little bit cheaper, who knows. And even though I knew what this was about, I hadn't actually opened it to see. So essentially, these are emails that she has received over the years, good and bad, and she has essentially redacted or blanked out some of the full email to create a poem, which is a really nice idea. And then some of them just read really nicely as really nice, like one-liners, like, you know, the sort of one-liners that people share from Rupi Kaur. That's essentially the vibe of this book. But it is also interesting to read the actual emails, because I don't actually know who Kate Bayer is, but she has a poetry collection, and I guess she blogs and writes on motherhood. So she's based in America, and a lot of the emails she gets are from people who are just like, stop talking about these things on motherhood, and stop saying I'm a racist because I believe this, and, you know, how can your husband like you when you do this, and all this sort of like bullshit that people like to just use their stupid fingers to type. Why? So that's what this is like. It does feel a bit gimmicky, but at the same time I can see like the craft that must have gone into it, because you're reading the end result, but and even though it's a couple of lines, it would have taken quite a while to go through all of this and mean like, okay, this is actually the output that I want, this is the wording that I want, this is how I want it to read. And I think she said this is like from like over 10 years. It's not a very long collection at all, and I can see why it would have taken so long, because if you're doing something like this, I know the like sort of feedback is going to be like, well, that's just a really simple poem, a really simple idea. It works nicely, it's not blowing my mind, but there are some really nice one-liners in here. For example, a really nice one here is your mummy pouch, which is an email that she must have received about a detox tea. So the email is there and she has blanked it out, so eventually it's about, you know, shedding the baby weight and finally shedding that mummy pouch. And she turns it into, I hope this finds you leaning towards a life intent on love. Because obviously the email is about, you know, weight loss and just getting back to your original self. And she's turned it into something nicer, I suppose. And then there's another email I guess you received from someone who's a podcaster who would like to ask her a series of questions. It says, I would like to know how your husband feels about your poetry. Thank you, my cat, my dearest cat pushing the door on me. If he sees any of it, and also about the photos. If my wife was posting photos of her body, I might want to know first. I'm just like, what? But anyway, it says, my husband sees my body and gives thanks for the opportunity to know her. That's what she's turned it into. Obviously, those words appear in that text as well. So it is nice. It's a very nice idea. This is collated from like years of online hate. So I guess, you know, if you have the online hate, that material to do that, then you can create those poems. Obviously you can create out of anything. It's a nice idea. It's, you know, one that I'm just like, okay, cool. What I'm reading at the moment is a fiction book, is Yellowface by Rebecca F. Kuang. I just knew that I recognised her name, the R.F. Kuang. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Kang, is it? I will look up how to pronounce that. And yeah, I think I saw a Facebook advert for it, and then, or maybe it was like in a Goodreads article. I put it on my to read on Goodreads list, and then it came up as a proof on NetGalley, so I was like, I'm gonna get that, because it sounds so good. And I'm like 14% of the way through it, and I'm really liking it, and I'm on my lunch break now, so as soon as I turn off this camera, I'm gonna read more of it. because it's exactly the kind of novel that I get excited about. So I knew I recognised her name, and I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, she's the author of the Poppy Wall series, which I've seen so many people talk about. Not a book or series that I'm interested in. I don't like fantasy, and like war stories, not for me. I didn't realise that she was also the author of Babel. Again, a book that I've seen during the rounds, people doing reviews. I've watched loads of people talk about that book. Again, absolutely no interest in it. Nothing that anyone has said about this book has made me think I want to read that. It's just not my personal taste. So this is just so different from those books that she has published, and it is about a character named Juniper, and her friend, I've already forgotten, Anthea? I've already forgotten her name, actually. Well, she dies instantly, and you know this from the back cover. But it is about her stealing, basically, this girl's manuscript. They went to college together, went to the same sort of writing programs, and one gets, super famous, and the other doesn't. And then they're spending a night together. They're not even that really close friends, but they're having a night where they're just, like, drinking and stuff. And then the girl ends up dying. Like, the main character does not kill her. There's no sort of, like, murder investigation or anything like that, because it was clear it was just an accident. But this girl steals the beginning of, like, her manuscript. I think that's the outline for her chapter 1. And so we're just at the bit where she sent in, like, the manuscript to her editor, and, she is getting all the fame, all the press about it. And I'm just assuming it is just going to be a roller coaster of things that is going to happen in order for her to keep this secret. The thing about this is it's very witty, and I don't know that any other author could have written this, apart from an author who is quite, like, prolific in their career as Rebecca is, because it has a lot of wit and sarcasm directed at, like, the publishing industry, and what it's like being a writer, and the fact that when these deals start coming in, like, what that's like. And I just don't think any other author who hadn't experienced that and was writing about it would, I don't know, be able to do it justice, but it would be as well received. Because Rebecca has that inside knowledge, it just makes this a lot funnier for me. And sometimes you read books that are focusing on the publishing industry, and they're talking about the daily ins and outs, and I'm just like, it's not like that. But I'm not a commissioning editor, I'm not an editor in any way, shape or form, so I could be very wrong, and it's, like, completely like that as well. I don't work on trade titles, so but it's very witty, it's very insightful. I think she's very aware of herself, and it's very clear to me from reading this book that Rebecca is a very smart woman and knows she's a very smart woman. And I think it's one of those books that definitely could be like Marmite, because I don't know, she's saying some things that just make me fucking laugh, and I'm just like, and some of the things she's also saying about, like, Korean, Chinese culture, and, like, or just characteristics of, like, how white people think of them, couldn't also be said by, like, another white author and be well received. But because she is the minority here, making a comment on how white people perceive the minority, you're like, okay, cool, you can read this and not be like, ooh, because it's funny. And also being a minority, I'm just like, I completely know what that means. I completely get that. So I'm really enjoying it. And for me, it's, like, sometimes so rare. This is what I like about books, that sometimes you'll pick up a book and just be, like, so engrossed in it. So I just keep on wanting to read this. Not sure if I'm going to love it in the end, because I don't know, like, the sort of direction it's going to take. I feel like, this girl is willing to kill to keep this secret, and I don't know if that is going to be my vibe. But so far, I'm really liking it, and it's really engrossing.
Hello guys, Editing Sandra here. I am editing this vlog and realising that this is actually quite long, and I haven't put up some of the other clips. Like, I haven't uploaded the other clips onto Premiere Pro, and already this is like 26 minutes long. So I'm cutting the March vlog in half, and just wanted to wrap up at this end of this video to say thank you for watching this video. I talk more in depth about Yellowface in the second half, so once that's edited, obviously that will be up as well. But yeah, stay tuned to hear my thoughts about Yellowface, because you can see the excitement in my face from that clip there, and I did go on to, like, enjoy it, not really enjoy it, but you'll find out more about that. But thank you for watching this vlog, and I'll catch you in another video. Bye.